Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. We are the Fantasy Football Scouts. My name's Rob. I'm with Dan and Scott.
Hello, hello.
Ahoy, ahoy.
So today we're talking about sleeper running backs, and we got three names here. We all picked one guy, and so we're gonna touch on three guys here that we think you should draft come draft day. Sleeper running backs. Who wants to get it started?
I guess I'll get on board, and just like all the listeners should, get on board with Gus the Bus out in Baltimore.
Gus the Bus.
Gus the Bus, yes, that is right. He's going really late. You can get him in like round 10 or 11 now, and without Mark Ingram there, it's him and J.K. Dobbins, and you can expect a LeGarrette Blount type role out of Gus the Bus. He's going to get the goal line work. I don't believe they want Lamar Jackson running as much as he did. J.K. Dobbins, he can't get it in the end zone, but you can make a killing off touchdowns here with the Bus. He's a straight downhill runner. And
Yeah, he's much bigger than J.K. Dobbins.
you know exactly where he's going. He's going right at you. So there's no silly stuff with him. Even with the three of them last year, let me just pull this up here. How many touchdowns Edwards had on his own? Six touchdowns.
Six.
So there's touchdowns to be had in Baltimore.
144-yard attempts. That's actually not too bad. That's a lot more than I thought he would have had on initial guess.
So if you want value, you just gas up the electric bus.
And yeah, you could get him late. You said 10th round, right?
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take, yeah. You might be able to get him a little bit later than that. Gus the Bus, yeah, he's going to get a lot of goal line work. Like you said, Lamar might not run as much. Mark Ingram's in Houston, so Justice Hill doesn't really, he's not really worth mentioning when it comes to fantasy-wise. Gus the Bus and J.K. Dobbins is the...
Yeah, he's not a guy on my radar, so I feel like you could definitely get him as late as you can imagine. It's hard to envision anyone getting up and being excited about Gus Edwards. He's not really a well-known commodity. I know who he is, and I was shocked to see that he had 144 attempts for 700 yards last year. I would never have guessed that he had that much production last year in that crowded backfield.
Yeah, and he played all 16 games too, and the year before as well. So he's, when it comes to injuries, he's good to go. So Gus the Bus, sleeper pick. Scott, who do you got?
Yeah, as we were discussing right before we went live, I found it really hard to handicap sleeper running backs. They kind of always fall in two camps, whether it's a handcuff or a depth chart guy, which you're kind of just betting on injuries to make him rise up. I decided to ignore that and go with a guy who I think can just possibly outright win the job. And my pick is James Conner, the newly signed free agent of the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, we talked multiple times. I think we're all pretty high on the Arizona offense here. There's lots of opportunities for touchdowns, for yards, for touches on this team. It's a quality roster on both sides of the ball now, and I don't have the most faith in Chase Edmonds to handle a full-time workload. This is the third time now that I assume this is going to happen because he was not able to do it with David Johnson. He was not able to do it with Kenyon Drake. I do not think Chase Edmonds is going to be able to hang on to a heavy workhorse workload, if you will, with James Conner in town. Now, whether or not that does happen, who really knows? We cannot guarantee things here. But we've seen James Conner at his best and at the height of his powers, and that was running roughshed as a Pittsburgh Steeler. Kicking Le'Veon Bell's ass right out of town. So if he could have that type of production or even some of that,
He's a pretty good pass catcher as well.
Yeah. They were both equal. So it's not like Chase Edmonds is really doing anything that Connor can't, and he's much larger than Chase Edmonds. So he's definitely a guy that I'm looking to target later in drafts. He's hanging around. No one's really crazy about him. He's been going under the radar, and I'm probably going to be eyeballing him as much as I can.
Like you said, he may win that starting job. Right now, I believe Chase Edmonds is RB1 in Arizona, but that could very well change. You said you watched the preseason game week 1? And Edmonds didn't look good?
He had like 3 yards per carry. It's never an inspiring number. My benchmark is usually 4. They say that the average running back will get 4 yards per carry. If you're under that, it's generally a bad sign. Now, it's only preseason. We have to take it with a grain of salt. But James Conner didn't play. So the mystery of if he's
That's the thing. So the injuries.
It's a low risk, low draft option. You're not gonna have to reach in any way to get him. He's gonna be available for a while, and you're gonna have time to look at him because we are not at the finish line yet for draft season. So there will be time to figure out where he's at if he's getting acclimated with this team, and like I said, we've seen the best of him. So I'm hoping we're gonna see a little bit more of that as a new Arizona Cardinal.
Just one more note on Chase Edmonds. I know this is about James Conner, but Chase Edmonds
they really are together.
Does affect him.
No doubt.
But I came across this stat that in 217 attempts inside the opponent's 5-yard line, Chase Edmonds has only ever crossed the goal line once. So he's definitely not in for a heavy workload down by the goal line.
That's what I've been saying. Connors can catch balls just like him. He can rush between the 20s just like him, and he's a heavier back. So it's really not much of a debate as to who's primed by the numbers to have more success. Now listen, if they have to split backfield duties for a while, that's not the end of the world. We're talking about drafting guys later in the draft that you're looking to maximize your fantasy production. So I don't have a problem with them having to split for the time being and see where the chips fall.
I think he's worth a late round pick because you keep the injuries in mind, but right now he's healthy, so the injuries are not a factor. And if he wins that starting job, you're getting an RB1, a starting running back late in your fantasy draft. You don't account the injuries because that hasn't happened yet. So I think that's a good sleeper pick.
Thank you.
Yeah. My sleeper pick I got is I spoke about him before, Darrell Henderson, LA Rams. So we all know Cam Akers is out for the year with a torn Achilles. So that leaves Darrell Henderson. Malcolm Brown is in Miami now, and they didn't go and sign anybody. They're all in on Darrell Henderson, and I was really high on him last year. I drafted him, and obviously he didn't have the greatest year because there was 3 guys running the ball there. Now there's 1 guy. It's Darrell Henderson. And the offense, I think, is going to be better with Matthew Stafford instead of Jared Goff. Now, depending how competitive your league is, your draft is, you may be able to get Darrell Henderson pretty late because some people just don't know about him because Cam Akers, if you pick up a fantasy football magazine, Cam Akers is going to be in the top 10 running backs, right?
Yeah, brand name is a fickle thing with fantasy sports. If you can get a read on a player, you can identify if he's going to be the type of guy where hype is going to catapult his ADP, or if a boring player is just simply going to linger around draft boards for a while. Yeah. And I think Darrell Henderson is one of those guys. I'm not really high on him for any reason. I don't have much of an opinion on him, so it does sound like he's the kind of guy that can hang around in those key rounds when you're looking to fill your roster.
So I'm thinking third round. I think third round is where he's going to go in our draft particularly, which is very competitive. So I think if you're looking to draft Henderson, which I highly recommend, I think you're going to have to use a third-round pick, maybe even a late second-round pick. That might be reaching a little bit, but this is the guy, this is a guy that I'm going to reach for. 100%, I will reach for Darrell Henderson. I'm super high on him, and I think you guys should be as well.
I think the real shame is you're probably overestimating his draft stock a little bit. But if you did this draft, your draft a little earlier in the summer, he would have been the backup running back, and you would have got him at a real discount. So
absolutely,
you don't. So again, some people might not be aware that he has been upgraded to that type of role, and that's why I said he could potentially slip into a little bit farther back than that, just because people aren't always aware of exactly what's going on with depth charts.
Yeah, that's why I said depending how competitive your league is. Now, you could get him a little bit later. Some people aren't aware that Cam Akers is hurt. So Darrell Henderson is my sleeper pick. If you're looking at fantasy football playoffs, he's got Seattle in the quarterfinals, and then Minnesota in the semis. So I like the Seattle matchup. I think that could potentially be a high-scoring game. So I mean, if you're really deep diving into why you should be drafting certain guys, looking at fantasy playoffs matchups, then Henderson's got some decent matchups. But either or, it doesn't matter. I'm high on this guy. I think regardless who he plays, he's gonna be the guy. So Darrell Henderson's my guy. Anything else you guys want to touch on, or?
Nope. Just looking at his numbers, like you said, maybe he will be primed for an improvement on those numbers. He was getting kind of close to the 1,000-yard mark, which we consider quite the benchmark. And,
624 last year
with 120 some receiving yards. So yeah, maybe it will happen for him. Maybe all the stars will align for this guy to jump the queue.
Now you always got to be careful too with the Sean McVay running back. He comes from that Shanahan system, and so he doesn't care who it is as long as that guy's productive.
Yeah, the advantage here, as you were touching on, is that I did hear him already talk down Henderson, not up. He already mentioned how it's going to not be a full workload and yada yada. Yeah. And you don't have to take that as a negative. All it means is that the narrative out there is not going to drive his ADP skyrocketing as of right now, because McVay has not given him some sort of over-the-top ridiculous praise, which it can be a good thing in these situations.
Yeah, it's camp talk, right?
Yeah, exactly. But usually it goes the other way, so that's good.
If you don't want to pull your hair out, though, just on the waiver wire, at last pick of your draft, you just go grab Xavier Jones, who is the number 2.
Yeah. So he's gone up draft boards a little bit, but
naturally.
I think it's kind of under the radar with Darrell Henderson.
I think it still is too, because I was not there with him.
Yeah, so you might be able to get a little bit later if you want to wait on him. Go for it. But he's a guy that I would reach for. So that's what we got. So sleeper picks. I got Darrell Henderson. Scott, you got
James Conner
and Dan.
The Bus.
Gus
The Bus.
Gus Edwards. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks for listening, guys.
Ciao.
Take her easy.